Is anybody in the meeting now from Beacon? Okay. Okay, we just wanted to make sure you were here. Thank you. Standing committee reports. Council President Frankie.
Redevelopment Commission meets Wednesday, the 31st at 5:15 here in council chambers. That's all I have.
Councilwoman Huffman.
The Sustainability Commission will meet on Tuesday, the 23rd at 4 p.m. in council chambers.
Councilwoman Ficus.
Park Board will be meeting this Wednesday, 4 p.m. at the Park Office, and then the next Traffic Commission meeting will be Tuesday, August 6th, 5 p.m. at the Police Station.
Councilman Galloway.
Police Merit Commission met last Tuesday, the 9th, and the only thing I've got written down is more police officers. It wasn't a very long meeting.
Thank you. Councilwoman West.
Yes, I would like to share with everyone that you're invited, thank you, to LaPorte County launches the use of Pulse Point apps to help save lives. LaPorte County Emergency 911 and the Heart Safe Community Task Force, which includes our local EMS, our LaPorte County 911, our City Fire Department, the Play for Jake Foundation, and the Health Foundation of LaPorte. They're the task force, and it includes two includes two mobile home applications, Pulse Point Response and Pulse Point AED. Both apps are designed to increase the cardiac survival rates by encouraging bystander CPR and the use of an AED. So if you could join us on this Thursday, July 18th at 9 a.m. at the Municipal Airport to help us celebrate these apps that will help continue to make our community safe. And one other thing, on the 27th, our 6th annual Bolt for the Heart, Play for Jake 5K Family Walk Run will be starting held Saturday morning of the Lake Fest. So please register. Today is the last day to register if you want to guarantee a race shirt. So please do that. And there's these out there everywhere. So end of my report. Thank goodness.
Councilman Buchanan.
The Historic Preservation Commission is scheduled to meet tomorrow, July 16th at 5:30 here in council chambers. The Plan Commission met on Tuesday, July 9th. An amendment to the zoning ordinance concerning smoke, vape, and tobacco shops was considered and approved. A favorable recommendation back to City Council, which we will hear later. Also, a petition on behalf of Steiner Homes was presented for a plat of residential subdivision on 18th Street, known as Bailey Park. The petition was approved. Finally, the LaPorte Community School Board of Trustees announced the hiring of Dr. Sandra Wood as the new superintendent. I would like to welcome her to the community.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Konechny.
Just to piggyback off of Julie, the Airport Authority and the LaPorte Municipal Airport will be hosting a press release this Thursday at 9 a.m. at the airport featuring the Pulse Point app that'll be rolling out. So your attendance would be greatly appreciated. End of report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ficus, public hearing and introduction of an ordinance.
Are we doing the public hearing before I make my motion? Okay. I move to introduce an ordinance read for the first time.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ficus.
An ordinance vacating a portion of a public alley in the city of LaPorte located between lots 81 and 82 in Shore Acres Edition. Whereas Xavier E. Botana and Susan M. Botana, as trustees of the Suzanne and Xavier Botana Living Trust, dated March 15, 2023, are the owners of certain real estate located within the city of LaPorte, Indiana, more particularly described as follows. See Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, commonly known as 713 Lakeside Street, LaPorte, Indiana, 46350. End of ordinance.
I believe Attorney,
Yep, sir. First, Your Honor, we'd open up for a public hearing on a resolution to approve.
Jim, your mic's off.
Sorry, we'd have to open it up for a public hearing on the resolution to have a public hearing before the ordinance is actually read and approved. So the first item would be to have the hearing on the ordinance. And I would note that publication of the hearing was properly published on June 27th, 2024, and the petitioners have properly provided proof of certified mailing to the adjoining owner as is required by statute.
I will now open up for a public hearing regarding this matter. The meeting is open. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Barry McDonald. I'm an attorney in Michigan City with offices at 601 Franklin Street. And I'm here representing my clients, Javier and Suzanne Botania, with their petition to vacate a portion of an alley adjacent to their home at 713 Lakeside Street. And with me tonight is both Javier and Suzanne. Javier is closer to me here, up in front, as well as the neighbor, Mia Toshi, who was notified by our certified mailing, who is here in support of this petition as well. She's in the back of the room, hiding. Thank you for all the assistance, Mr. Mayor, from both your clerk treasurer and legal counsel in guiding me through this process. Although I've been doing this for many decades, much like Mr. Kaminsky, it's actually my first time coming before the city of LaPorte. So I appreciate all the assistance I've gotten.
Welcome, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Been here my whole life in Michigan City and coming out here all the time, just haven't had business. Haven't been in here since the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission used to meet in this office. It's
Well, we have offices in LaPorte available as well if you decide to move.
I'll talk to Jim.
There you go.
Thank you very much. So, for the record, this was previously discussed and approved by the Traffic Commission at their December 2023 meeting. So I will be brief. You've got a lot on your agenda. The alleyway in question straddles, again, 711 and 713 Lakeside. It's never been used as a public right-of-way, and in fact, it's the sole access point and sole driveway for my client's property. I hopefully circulated the pictures. One was obviously just a Google map shot that shows that to the naked eye, if someone were to drive by, it looks like their alley, as they thought when they bought the place. And in fact, Beacon mistakenly identifies the alley as part of their property already, even though we know that isn't the case. So really the goal of the petition was to try and make what is the perception the reality, which is that they, as well as their adjoining neighbor, would actually own this property. A fair question might be why? Why rock the boat? It's been like this for a lot of years. Why bother? We like to have, my clients like to have kind of the perception match the reality and actually have ownership. But specifically, Javier and his wife currently still live in Maine. Their hope is that they're going to retire here in LaPorte in the next couple of years. And the additional ground would allow them to make some improvements to a garage to make the property, quite honestly, more suitable for full-time, year-round living. Finally, we do feel that the petition meets the statutory requirement for vacation of public ways. Number one, it's not going to hinder the growth and development of the area. The growth and development of that area of LaPorte is pretty much concluded at this point. It's pretty much developed. Secondly, it's not going to make access more difficult for my client. In fact, just the opposite. It is the only access for my client currently, and by the vacating the property, make the access more permanent. And then finally, we would argue that the vacation would not hinder access to the public for a church, a school, or a public space, given where it is in the city of LaPorte. So for those reasons, we'd ask this body to consider the petition. We thank everybody for their time and attention and all the help we had to this point, and certainly Javier or his wife are available if anybody has any questions. Thank you very much.
And have you did say you spoke to the engineering department. There did not seem to be an issue for access, for utilities, for anything, water, sewer?
That's a fair question, and we actually sent that notice to Mr. Otis. Mr. Otis said, I will take on the burden of notifying all the departments. And I guess, Mr. Mayor, the truth of the matter is we didn't hear back one way or the other. And my clients do not know of any utilities in that right of way, but we didn't get an email or notice that said, hey, there's a problem.
Okay.
But we
We
did
actually did bring Nick Minnick in on it from Traffic Commission, and he said he was in total agreement with it. He said it wasn't
Okay.
going to hinder anything.
I responded back to Nick and said what Susan said.
Yeah, I did send the police chief, fire chief, and both utility superintendents.
Yeah, and we spoke with Nick.
Further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Anybody from the public? Questions from the council? I will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on this. This is an ordinance, so. First reading, so we will not take a vote, so. Further questions from council? We will move forward then to the July,
No, August.
oh, we're August 5th, can you believe it? August 5th meeting. Thank you. Councilwoman Konechny.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce an ordinance read for the first time in its entirety.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Konechny.
An ordinance to vacate a street or roadway in the city of LaPorte, Indiana. Whereas the petitioners, Beacon Health Systems Incorporated and Jeffrey P. Costello, have filed a petition with the Common Council of the city of LaPorte, Indiana, for the vacation of a portion of J Street from J Street to West State Road 2.
So we will move to the public hearing.
On this one, Your Honor, we do have proper, on this one, Your Honor, we do have proper proof of publication on July 5th, which is within the 10 days for publication. However, I've conferred with the clerk treasurer on this. We were provided by the petitioner with proof of sending, receipt sending the certified mailing to the adjoining owners as required by statute, but we didn't get actually the green cards that would verify either receipt or they weren't received. So with that said, I believe to comply with the statute, we're okay to hold the public hearing, but we would ask the petitioner to provide before any final action on the ordinance itself, the actual green card, so that we know that the receipts match the notice to adjoining parcel owners per the statute, if that all makes sense.
Yes, so with that, I will open up to a public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Matthew Kirkwood. I did provide I dropped them off with the submittal package. It was dropped off. I have copies of that, but I don't have the originals.
Yeah, those are the receipts showing sending. We'd want the actual green cards also then.
I have those, right? And what green card? I apologize. I don't understand the green card.
Sure, I can just show you.
No, this is the receipt that they sent it. There's a green card. That's not green because it's.
You pull it off the back of the envelope.
So not these?
Sign.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the receipt for this last petition. It shows it went out, and then this is for.
Would that come back to me?
Yes.
I certainly. Okay. I haven't been provided those.
And then, sir, I'm fairly familiar with this. Did you fill out the green, like an additional green card and adhere it to the mail that you sent out?
My secretary did, I thought, and that's what, here's the receipts for that.
So there'll be a second component to that, which is optional. So it's like a return receipt, acknowledgement. So you might want to confer with her.
Okay.
But with
She might
that-
have already been receiving them in the mail. She might have them in the office.
But with that, we do have the open public hearing, so please, if you would, state your interest in this, and let's continue forward.
Yes,
And if, one thing, if you could make sure you get those to City Hall.
I will.
And I think to the clerk treasurer's office would be perfect.
Okay. No, I apologize about the miscommunication.
It's
on that.
fine.
No, I represent Beacon. We're doing the engineering work for this. It turns out, in the history, looking back, I haven't been in the community very long. I just moved into Mill Creek myself.
Welcome.
I'm part of this community. And since 1993, before the hospital was built, it was supposedly brought in front of the city commission, just never was approved officially. And so we're just cleaning up the bookwork on that, legal descriptions and so forth. But no, the building's actually, Beacon Hospital, Franciscan Hospital, is in that road already currently.
But it's now just Beacon, correct?
It will be Beacon, yes, just Beacon.
Okay. Questions?
And we did notify all utility companies as well, and I have letters confirming that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Mr. Jackson, wastewater department.
There's a public sewer in that right-of-way that serves Meridian, and we'll need an easement showing where that sewer's at and giving right of ownership and access.
And Mr. Jackson, Mr. Kaminsky, is that something we will add?
Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? Anybody? Yes. And please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Kevin Warren.
I'm sorry?
I'm Kevin Warren. I'm an attorney out of South Bend, Indiana. I represent NIPSCO, and we did get notice of this. I'm also a resident of New Carlisle, so I'm familiar with the area. We got notice of this and just wanted to speak on behalf of NIPSCO with respect to any existing utilities in the right-of-way. We were able to work with Mr. Kirkwood and his firm. Our understanding is that, you know, by statute, there's the sort of right to retain the utility use in a vacated right-of-way exists. It sounds as though they're going to reflect that on any subsequent plats that get filed and show that vacated right-of-way as a utility easement, as well as I believe there's an alleyway that's part of this as well. So with that understanding, we just wanted to make sure it was clear that we're in support of the vacation and have no issues in light of those circumstances.
And if there's anything, if you just would confirm with Mr. Kirkwood between now and the next meeting, just that you're all on the same page and everything is approved.
Absolutely. We had a good call with him, and to the extent we need to, we'll stay in touch and keep coordinating on that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak during the public hearing? Any comments? Hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing, and this will move forward to the August 5th meeting. Councilman Frankie.
Your Honor, I move to introduce an ordinance read by title only for the first time.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Frankie.
An ordinance of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of certain additions, extensions, and improvements to the municipal waterworks of said city, providing for the safeguarding of the interests of the owners of said bonds, other matters connected therewith, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
With us tonight, we'll begin with Tom Pittman. Tom, welcome. State your name and company for the address.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Tom Pittman, bond counsel from the law firm of Barnes and Thornburg in Indianapolis at 11 South Meridian Street, Indianapolis. And the ordinance before you is an authorization to borrow money, both long-term in the form of bonds and short-term in the form of bond anticipation notes, with the interim bond anticipation note financing intended to go no more than 5 years and to pay expenses that are needed in the nearest future. The terms of the bonds were provided, parameters, maximum term, et cetera, by Eric Walsh, who's also on.
Eric Walsh, Baker Tilly, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Partner, Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, 112 Ironworks Avenue, Mishawaka, Indiana. As Mr. Pittman alluded to, our firm is the financial advisor for the city, provided in the bond ordinance, both for water and sewer. I know they're both on the docket tonight, is approval for council for a short-term bond anticipation note. In the water utility, that would be in an amount not to exceed $10 million. I know we're on water now, but for wastewater as well, that would be in an amount not to exceed $20 million. We do not anticipate using that entire amount. However, we're still working with Tim and Jerry through final project needs to size those bond anticipation notes. As Mr. Pittman alluded to, the bond anticipation note would be a short-term financing. Could be done with a local bank, underwriter, or national bank. We would recommend that the city take the best deal available. So we would solicit each of those types of entities and take the lowest interest rate possible. A term not to exceed 5 years. Within that 5-year period, the utilities would then be issuing long-term debt, as Mr. Pittman alluded to, for the remainder of projects that are on the horizon, as well as to pay off the short-term financing. There is no rate proceeding needed in tandem with the bond anticipation notes. We would anticipate before the long-term bonds were issued, at that time, we would be looking at rate sufficiency, and if there would need to be additional rate adjustments before the long-term bonds would be issued. We would be coming back to the city, having discussions on that before we'd issue the long-term bonds. So tonight, we're really only talking about the short-term interim financing.
So again, this is the beginning, so the public has clarity on this situation, the council has clarity. Obviously, you knew on day one when we took over this administration, this council, we have $100 million worth of infrastructure that's 100 years old. We've done what we said we're going to do. These dollars go directly into improved infrastructure. And, we started with Monroe Manor, low-income area, to improve their infrastructure. We said we'd do the letter and number streets. This is a continuation of work that has to be done because, again, if anybody has followed the latest rain over the last month, and go to Lawrence Street, for example, go to some of the other areas, and you see the backups. You see the issues that people are having, their basements ruined, other issues. This is where these dollars go. It's not to increase automobiles for everybody or do anything else. These dollars go directly into our infrastructure. And I will tell you, when you look at our costs compared to the state average, when you look to other communities, we're very, very competitive. But to kick this can down the road is not fair. Our residents deserve the best updated infrastructure available. And if I don't mind putting Mr. Jackson on the spot to come forward and briefly just state from the wastewater and water departments how important this is.
A very brief PowerPoint, if you want to entertain that.
Great.
Go ahead to the next one.
Can everybody see?
Okay. The mayor alluded to all the projects we have and all to replace old infrastructure. The big driver for this one is Indiana Avenue, which is going to be reconstructed. The project bids in September, and at that time, the state of Indiana wants a check for our piece of that. The wastewater treatment plant, and that's Waterworks is in that, not in that 3.5. They have their own piece. That's the wastewater piece of this. The wastewater treatment plant headworks is repairing 1987. So what is that? 37 years old, something like that. Infrastructure. So it's time to do it. Hit the next one. This is our schedule of capital projects. As the mayor said, this bond issue is for capital projects. It does not operations. it's fixing infrastructure. I'm not gonna talk about all those, of course, but,
And this is available through the wastewater department if someone would like. I know everybody can read it, but just in case.
yeah, I knew that wasn't gonna be, I just wanted to show the scale of what needs to be done. Indiana Avenue, that project goes from Lincoln Way to Kingsbury, the yellow line. The red line kind of outlines what project area that will serve eventually. So it's a 78-inch pipe that comes down through there. The blue line takes it all the way out to a basin, and then it'll be discharged to our Head Creek Basin. So this is a trunk storm sewer that will allow fewer separations. I've been calling that red area letters and numbers north because we did the area to the south and called it letters and numbers. In particular, early on in this is the bus barn area, B Street, that floods regularly every time we get a rain. This will give us a connection to drain that area. Right now, we don't have one except for the combined sewer. So this is this sets us up for future work. We got $1 million grant for it, and INDOT is taking a big hit on this. They're taking a big piece of this. So this is a heck of an opportunity for the city. Here's the water and wastewater costs for that project. And it'll do sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water mains, and of course the road. And I mentioned the separation project. Go ahead. To give you an idea of scale, this is the size of the pipe that'll go in. That was a project we did on Fox Street, and I thought, oh wait, that's the same size pipe, because it's hard to get scale without, kind of looking at a picture. So that was my son's in the front there. That was his preschool, as it happens. Next. To the treatment plant now. I put those yellow numbers are dates, and they kind of reflect what part of the plant was built when. The latest project, 2023, was a chemical addition building we added to take out phosphorus. That was a limitation that the state of Indiana. This project is, if you see the big fixed bed, 1937 at the top left, this would be to the right, and this piece of the headworks, the initial piece of the plant, was built in phases between 1937 and 1987. Most of it was rehabbed in 87, 37 years ago. Next, please. I don't want to, this is a big project, but that red box, this is the flow diagram of the treatment plant. The red box is the piece we're doing. So there's a lot more to go as we go down the road. The treatment plant, as I said, got started in 37, and there's a lot more as we go along. We're going to have a new limitation for nitrogen, and that'll make us change process. So when that comes up, I'm not sure when that comes up, but when that comes up in the next 10 years-ish, we'll be having yet another big project at the treatment plant. Next. That's the same area where that all takes place. The water comes in, it's screened, the sand and rocks, the grit come out, and that's what this piece of it does. It gets the wastewater ready for biological treatment. Everything else downstream is pretty much biological treatment. This gets it ready, and the design of this is such that we can put a new process on and have it fine enough and clean enough at that point that we can put on the new innovative processes that we're going to have to do to make the new limits. So this is, while it's only a little piece of the plan, it's forward-looking, it also has additional capacity because one day we'll need it. This is on the left, both those pictures are our old 1987 grit system. And as I said, it's worn out, parts of it doesn't work, and when we get a big rain, we get sand and grit and rocks that just pass right through it into the primary tanks, and that gives us further problems downstream. So it's gotten to be time. Next. And there's the screens. Those are all catenary screens. The gap on those is about 3/4 of an inch, so anything bigger than 3/4 of it or smaller can go right through. And so that causes us treatment problems. It plugs nozzles, it plugs pumps. It allows a lot of debris through that shouldn't get through that would replace these screens. Next. There's kind of a summary, and you can see it's a big ticket for doing just the front end of the plant. One thing I didn't mention was the last bullet point there. in the 80s, most of the electrical was redone, and they put that in deep conduit banks underneath the water table. And while water is leaked into all those conduits, so a lot of the electrical is below, is wet, it's underwater. And we've gotten old enough now that the sheathing on the wiring is starting to fail and get cracks. We get water in, and then we get shorts. And so things fail periodically just because of age. So we need that replaced, otherwise we're not reliable. I think that's the last, isn't it? Yep.
So, Mr. Jackson, the 10.6, say, I mean, it's not exciting for the public probably to hear this because it's not pipe underneath their house or leading to their house and so forth. If we don't do this work, though, what happens?
The treatment plant is the mothership. All the wastewater and a lot of the stormwater goes to the treatment plant. We have to treat it and meet limitations. If the treatment can't meet our limitations, the first thing IDEM does is give you an agreed order that says fix it. And often with a fine associated with that agreed order, and then things escalate from there. Eventually, the legal department of the EPA gets involved if you let things go far enough. So we have a legal obligation to treat the water so that downstream people aren't impacted by our water quality.
Questions for Mr. Jackson?
I don't have any for you, Jerry, but Eric, I do have one for you. My understanding is without this long-term bond, if we were not to do that, we still have enough money to cover this short-term one, correct?
The provisions for this, we're going to bid this bond to two different options likely. We'll do it as a draw ban, and a lump sum ban. We'll also likely have it be interest only until the final payment. So if you, for instance, borrowed the 10 million in water, at the end of the 5 years, you still would have to come up with a plan to repay that $10 million if you don't do the long-term bond. So that would either be an extension or a rollover of the ban, a long-term financing, or adjusting your rates to a position that you could pay back that amount into the future.
Because rates will go up. We're making them as competitive as possible, but that's where we use those rates to pay off this infrastructure.
Our rates are below the state average now, and you can kind of look at, if you get a list of cities that have rates, people are doing work, the people that are making improvements in their infrastructure, you can just tell which cities it are by the rates. If you're letting your infrastructure degrade, not fixing it, you might be really cheap. But you pay the piper eventually, or the city suffers.
And, Mayor, I think it's important to highlight, too, that the discount that the city will be getting from doing this work in conjunction with INDOT, because if the work's going to need to be done eventually anyway, the timing of this is pretty good, even though some of these numbers are scary. They can be really scary if we're doing it all on our own. So I think it's important to work well with them and take advantage of the discount that we will be getting.
We're getting a heck of a deal through INDOT, and INDOT's worked well with us. We did Monroe Street in a similar fashion and got a very good deal there. So having them, I like having them in LaPorte, and we know everyone over there, and we work well together.
And then without the $1 million from Congressman Mervan's office, that would have
Just tacked onto this,
severely, though, hurt the opportunity to put infrastructure underneath.
for sure, for sure.
Mayor, if I could add on to the INDOT piece too, because I think that's important for the council and the public of why we're recommending this short-term financing bond anticipation note now with a long-term financing to come sometime in the next few years. That's being driven primarily by the Indiana Avenue timing of that project. Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to have those dollars in a couple of months here, September.
That's correct.
Your match.
Yes.
So we really need to have funding soon, but there's several projects, why the dollar amounts are so large, as Jerry just went through, there's several large-scale projects that we anticipate happening By doing the bond anticipation note now, you can get funding for the immediate needs like Indiana Avenue and a few other ones. And then you don't have to commit to the long-term financing and lock in interest rates till a few years down the road when those other larger projects are ready to go. So it's a cheaper way to do, instead of doing two separate bond issues, it's a cheaper route to go for the city.
I had one question. The short-term financing, there's no extra cost for, if we move up the long-term financing, there's no extra cost for paying it off early or anything like that, is it?
Yeah, we'll negotiate those terms with whoever we end up selling the bonds to, but typically they'll have anywhere from a 30-day to 180-day provision of no prepayment. But then after that period, you can prepay it at that time. It's what we call the call provision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've refinanced a number of issuances over my career when the rates were low, and you say, oh, now we can save $1. So
Yeah.
that's none of the bond issues we've done so far have had a penalty for early pay.
But it gets simple that if we don't increase the rates, we don't improve the infrastructure. If we want to improve the infrastructure, the rates have to be increased. Those dollars go directly in there, into the infrastructure. And, you know, this process, we want the public to be engaged, to fully understand, to be a part of this. And the process, Eric, the timing of it, can you lay that out in the next meetings or any other meetings that will be required to pass this?
For the bond ordinance, there will be, and Tom, do you have that handy, the next meeting that they're actually adopting it at?
It would be first meeting in August, right?
First meeting in August would be the adoption of the documents you have in front of you tonight. Once that's adopted, or concurrently with that, our firm will be working on the offering document, which is in essence what we'll take to the rating agencies and to the lenders. And they will be reviewing that information soon after this document would be adopted by the council. And we would be targeting sometime in September to be going to market, likely closing late September, early October on that financing. The longer term financing, Mayor, and where you would need a rate adjustment at that point will happen sometime, I would assume, based on the construction timelines from Tim and Jerry, in the next 2 to 3 years. We would be having those discussions. You have some flexibility by doing the bond anticipation note, that you have the funds now to do Indiana Avenue and some of the other projects here in the immediate term. If interest rates were to turn into the favor of the city, I would suggest you go sooner than later on the long-term financing. If interest rates stay where they are or tick higher, we have up to that 5-year period before you have to do the long-term financing. I think at that point, it'll be driven more by the need of starting the projects a few years down the road.
Let me add in, if I may, one additional procedure on the sewer side, and that's that unlike the water, the sewer process includes publication of a notice of adoption of the bond ordinance and a 20-day period for potential public remonstrance.
Thank you. Further questions from council?
I will state, just for public record, the first meeting in August is August 5th.
August 5th, yeah.
And I'm available for a tour to sit down and talk about it, or if any of your constituents want to talk about it, I'm available.
Or a tour for the public?
Absolutely.
The tours are amazing.
I enjoy giving the tours. I need to set up tours for the solar power plant there, because there's a lot of misinformation about what solar power plants are about, and when you walk through them, then you kind of figure it out. And by the way, that was 92% of our electric bill was paid for by that. Our energy usage was paid by that solar power plant last year. And we went, because rates are going up for electricity, we went from having about a 12-year payback to about an 8-year payback now. Pretty cool.
I think anybody in a Tennessee shirt would love a free tour of the wastewater plant. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right, we will move this to the August 5th meeting. Councilman Buchanan.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce an ordinance read by title only for the first time.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Buchanan.
An ordinance authorizing the acquisition, construction, and installation by the City of LaPorte, Indiana, of certain improvements and extensions to the city's sewage works, the issuance and sale of revenue bonds to provide funds for the payment of the costs thereof, the issuance and sale of bond anticipation notes, anticipation of the issuance and sale of such bonds, and the collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of such sewage works, and all matters related thereto.
Okay, I believe, we're going to hear the same things, but Tom, would you like to lead off if there's anything else that you'd like to add?
I know that Eric's kind of gone over the terms of the sewer long-term financing and short-term financing. And, the parameters are slightly different, but Eric's discussed those, so really just a companion ordinance relating to the sewer.
Eric?
Yes, Mayor. Same terms I just went through earlier. I went through water and sewer both, so happy to answer any questions the council has them.
Questions from council? Hearing none, this will move to the August 5th. Councilwoman Huffman.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce an ordinance read for the first time by title only.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Huffman.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, as enacted August 21st, 2017, which is part of Chapter 82 of the Municipal Code of the City of LaPorte by amending the 2017 revised City of LaPorte Joint Zoning Ordinance.
Would you like to discuss this?
Yes, absolutely. This ordinance would amend the allowance of vape, tobacco, and other such retailers. They would have to have special approval through the BZA in order to set up shop anywhere within the City of LaPorte.
So in other words, somebody can't just set up shop. We are a very unhealthy community. Anybody that would like to debate the issue of our lack of health, which is slowly improving, can go to the Health Foundation of LaPorte to look at those numbers in our community. And, several people, I think we have enough options of that on the main thoroughfares.
Each
And
state road has one.
more than one, I believe. So, Councilwoman Huffman, I thank her for leading this, and, we've already had a couple issues just lately with signs. We know what's happening with underage vaping and how accessible and available this is, and we need to do our part, so.
I believe when I looked up the numbers before I really dug into this ordinance, according to the CDC, 2.1 million middle schoolers currently vape. And we're talking middle school, so the less access that children have, I believe, to these types of products, hopefully if we can even just get a handful to save them, I'm on board.
Yeah, it is one of the biggest issues the school system faces. And it's worth noting, I mentioned before, but the Plan Commission unanimously passed this to City Council.
Further comments from council? Hearing none, we'll move that to August 5th. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to table item number 12, 39 North Asset Purchase Agreement. 39 North has approved this based on our agreement last week. I think there's a few details that need to be worked out that we'd like to do in person, hopefully yet this week with some of the 39 North representatives. And I wouldn't want to pass it until we have all that ironed out. So could I have a motion to table?
I would like to make a motion to table the 39 North Asset Purchase Agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved to table. And again, our relationship is working extremely well. We just want to work out a couple issues and make sure that 39 North is comfortable with that before we officially approve that. Councilman Galloway.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce a resolution in one reading only.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Galloway.
Resolution to transfer funds within the 2024 budgets. Whereas there are several monies needed in certain line items in the 2024 budgets in order to pay for essential services and obligations. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby resolved by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, that the following transfers be made within the following budgets for the year 2024. General Fund, Communications, 1101 to 311, from 311 Printing Advertisement to 391 Other Services, $1,205.88. Police, 1101 to 370, from 231 Repairs Maintenance to 361 Repairs Maintenance, $8,000. Motor Vehicle Highway, MVH, to Motor Vehicle Highway Restricted, 2201-524 to 2203-524. From 111 Salaries to 111 Motor Vehicle Highway Restricted Salaries, $11,217.52. From 111 IMPRS to 111 MVH Restricted, $1,556.91. From 122 FICA Medicare to 122 MVH Restricted FICA Medicare, $833.70. From 381 Hot Patcher Principal to 381 MVH Restricted Hot Patcher Principal, $12,420. From 382 Hot Patcher Interest to 382 MVH Restricted Hot Patcher Interest, $1,062. Park and Recreation, Beechwood, 2204-800, from 241 Other Supplies to 361 Repairs Maintenance, $4,000. From 351 Professional Services to 361 Repairs Maintenance, $1,000. From 211 Office Supplies to 361 Repairs Maintenance, $2,000. From 331 Printing Advertising to 321 Communication Transportation, $1,000. From 221 Operating Supplies to 321 Communication Transportation, $1,000. Civic Auditorium, 2204-803, from 331 Printing Advertising to 241 Other Supplies, $200. From 331 Printing Advertising to 221 Operating Supplies, $100. Civic Non-Reverting, 5504-803, from 315.001 Professional Services to 315 Event Staff, $5,000. From 121 IMPRS to 315.002 Event Staff Tips, $5,000. From 499 Monthly Credit Card Fee to 315.002 Event Staff Tips, $5,000. Okay, that's it.
This is a resolution, it can pass this evening. As you see through these items, the motor vehicle highway to motor vehicle highway restricted is required by the state to split those funds. And when you look at the budget, and it's just as a reminder, 30% of this budget goes back to homeowners property owners in the property tax caps. That's a great thing for homeowners. But as you can see here, services don't go away. We're still providing all the services. And I do want to say the work that the clerk treasurer's office has to do to move numbers where to make it work for a structurally balanced budget, which is the first one we've had, is difficult. Then you look at the park and rec, you look at police, you look at the civic. You see how these funds are all being used based on events to reduce the property tax burden on a homeowner. We've got a great team, and I encourage anybody from the public that would like to dig into the budget, look into where the tax dollars go, and encourage anybody in the public to be involved in this process. And my cell is 363-7293, and encourage as much involvement from the public to walk through our budget. So are there any questions regarding this resolution? Would any of our departments like to come forward and speak? Or, I didn't know if this is, Mr. Cashmere's here to offer free golf lessons tonight, or, there you go. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I just have one thing. Kyle had almost 80 kids at the golf course this morning. All morning, it was completely packed, so he might be a little perturbed that he was last on the agenda.
And Councilman Buchanan was catching balls at the end of the putting game, too. I saw that. While I was in the shade watching my kid putt.
No,
Excellent. And we look forward to Cole Parthun on the future Slicer team in golf, so. And Mr. Crooks.
So are your kids. And your kids. Every kid was there.
So our, just as a separate note, our council people, they're engaged in the community. They don't come here just to serve all of you, whether it's with veterans, whether it's with events, with young people, whether it's with the school system. You all are involved in our community, and we're thankful for all the people here. And then you look at Mr. Cook, it's nice not to mention his name after.
His son was there, too.
Yeah, he can play.
I saw him all today. Kids golfing.
I saw him running a lap because he missed swung or something.
He's all
and
business. He's all business.
But we've got a great team all together, Mr. Heinhold, Mr. Phillips here. So, a lot of good are happening that other communities, in fact, we had St. Joe County here today to talk about the quiet zone and how did we pass that, because it became difficult for a lot of communities to get that done, and they want to learn. And thank you to Mr. Jackson as well. It's not fun to talk about increases, but we have to do that because our residents deserve the best that we have to offer. It's a great place, so.
He's here, too.
Who?
Police chief is here.
Oh, and Chief Buell. I thought he was here just in protection, but thank you, Chief. Other business, we had a great.
Your Honor, I don't believe we voted for the resolution to be passed.
So,
You did, Ficus and Huffman.
yes. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, the vote.
Motion
That's okay.
passes. I'm sorry, am I boring you? You want me to get to it? Other business, thank you to everybody that participated during the 4th of July weekend, all the great things that happened, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. And also Roscoe Huffman that comes here late just to run the IT. Thank you, sir.
I would like to give props to our city folks today. I had to call in an 811 ticket because unfortunately I have some excavating to do at my house, and the water department was at my front door within 5 minutes. So
Excellent.
thank you to the city of LaPorte.
With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
You sign that, please.